Oh, whoops. I started the show a few seconds early. How about that? Oh, I started the show a few seconds early. How about that? I had that one muted earlier and then I unmuted it. I had that one muted earlier and then I unmuted it. I had that one muted earlier and then I unmuted it. I had that one muted. Such a Doug. I had that all set up correctly earlier and then was doing other stuff. My mind got off track. It is 11 a.m. on May 20th, 2023 on a Saturday. This is the Saturday edition of whatever this thing is that I'm doing. Today's title, Helping People Use Computers Better, live stream Saturday, May 20th. Check in on the chat room, and the Zoom session is open. And now that I think of it, I'll go turn off the waiting room. So if anybody comes in there, please remain quiet until I address you. Let's see, that is, turn that off. Oh, look at there, and I don't even have my picture-in-picture on. Nicholas Hooks says, hi there, Dung. Is it dyslexic is when you turn things backwards or put letters in different order, but how about when you turn a letter upside down, like turn the U in Doug upside down and it comes out as dung? I'm going to assume that was a typo. Robert gives us this tiny URL. I want to come back to that. I added it into the list of topics for today. I better scroll down here to the bottom, make sure you're saying that we're all okay. I did not pick up that laptop. There's a delay due to my, yeah, we were possibly going to work with LonnDawg on a sluggish laptop today. Then Randy Israel says reply and gives a colon. Now I'm not going to go show that. You can go look at it if you'd like to. It's just a rude response that I think is a rude response to the trailer that played before the show started, rather than a response to Robert's link, although it's possible because I have kind of a negative reaction to that article that Robert gave us a link for. Dana says, for your information, several of your trailers are in my YouTube history. Yes, we've noticed that if you come in to look to one of my scheduled live streams before the stream starts, and if there's a trailer, as there is Monday through Friday, that's going to be pretty regular. Saturdays might be hit and miss. And there's kind of a last night thing that I did a trailer for today's show. But yeah, if it plays on your computer, even if you're not watching, it'll that specific video will be in your history. And if you wanted to, you could capture that URL. I'm probably going to leave them on my channel as unlisted videos indefinitely. Chris Garrett, I'm going to skip over those comments and talk about that a little bit later, I think. Ida Rivera, and this is also, well, this is funny. Ida, don't delete your comment when I discuss this, because I'm sure this is something you didn't realize, and I want to keep it. I want to keep this comment here. But it occurred to me that when people watch this video on replay, they're not going to see the trailer, but they will see the chat room comments before, or right at the beginning of the video, because this chat room comment was made before the live stream began. So they're going to see this comment from Ida and says, I'm dying with all the empty words this man says on this video, only understood by himself, really. No idea what he's talking about. They're going to think Ida was talking about me. No, she wasn't. She was talking about the trailer that played before this show. I'm suspecting and inviting somebody to put a link into the chat room for the trailer so that people watching this video on replay can go to it. Now, the chat room won't show up till about it'll be there within 24 hours. So if somebody watches this video later today, they're probably not going to see the chat room comments at all, except that I will be displaying them on screen. But if it's 24 hours or whenever the chat room comments finally show up on the replay, people would be able to click on the link that shows up in the chat room, and they could go see the video that I had as a trailer prior to this show. Ida also gives us, if you want to see something relaxing, she gives us a link to this YouTube video. Now, I did look around this a little bit this morning and notice it's a live stream. And if we come back here, it's was going for 11 hours. And it's about this elephant that's been relocated. And you can find the elephant at different places through here. Some parts of the video, the elephant's not there at all. And so Ida gave us that as something relaxing and explains that's the Elecam. Now that's Elecam that starts with an E, not the letter H. If somebody's just listening to this, they might think the word begins with an H. It does not. It's an elephant cam at a Georgia sanctuary, which just received our PR elephant. Is that public relations elephant? PR elephant Monday, or maybe PR is a breed of elephant? I don't know. After 38 years in a zoo, which was finally closed a year ago. Now she has a better life. So happy for her. That is a nice story. Thank you, Ida. Darren Gilholm, hello. Arnold Albert, hello. Jonathan says hello to a bunch of people. And more hellos back and forth between people. There's Wintermute. And who else? Tony Wallow is here. Hello, Tony. Good to see you. Rick Lakes, Jonathan. And Ida says, thank you. She's just been there since Friday last week. Now, Ida's saying thank you to someone else's comment, I guess, because this was before the show started. Thank you. She's just there since Friday last week, is partially blind. Everything is new for her. She's in quarantine until she can get used to the other two elephants, Bo and Tara. Let's see, more hellos between people. CFWW, hello. Tony says AVDVRW, good. Tony notices the watch is not on my wrist. That way he can send me text messages and I will hear it. Jonathan is asking for topic number 5. Let's go see what topic number 5 is. Let's see, where am I going to get it? Is that the wrong page? Why is this one showing? Ah, there it is. So confusing. Oh, I know why that's so weird to see is because I have it zoomed in so far. So I got to go down here to find out what topic 5 is. Assist. Oh, there is a Tony message. I can actually hear it a little bit quiet. And there. All right. Assisting LonnDawg with troubleshooting sluggish computer. Yeah, we're not going to be able to do that one because LonnDawg has told us that that computer is not available to us. All right, I got to, this jumped around a bit on me. I did not pick up that laptop. There's a delay due to minor emergency this morning with my customer. Yesterday, in yesterday's live stream, I gave a pretty significant list of things to do with that laptop. It's reportedly sluggish. We are not sure yet when and where it is sluggish, but there's a possibility we could work with that on today's show, but that's not going to happen. And I told LonnDawg that we could do that during a Windows Daily episode. He's already told us that he can have that computer in his possession for a while. Greg M., sorry I'm late. I was screaming internally from yet another Linux is better post in another channel. And Rand Israel says, correct. I'm guessing that was meaning his reply was to the trailer, not to Robert's article or link. Ken Stout says, today's trailer was a miss. However, given it is you, all good, my friend. Well, that's interesting. So he's letting me know that that wasn't such a good trailer in his opinion. And that was, I somehow last Saturday and this Saturday, I just really didn't want to put together trader for those shows somehow. And so this was something that came up last night in my Brothers and Beer Zoom session. I get together with my brothers on a Zoom session every Friday night, my brothers and one nephew. And that turbo entabulator come up. And I saw that many years ago. SPDC Jonathan Boss, hello. Ken Stout, Ida's laughing. I think that's probably my interpretation. How some people might see her first comment. Rick Lakes, let's see. Then people saying hellos and how are yous. Oh, PR Puerto Rico. Of course, that was the PR elephant. It's Puerto Rico, because that's where Ida is from. And Ken Stout got that also. Ken Stout, sorry for the wrong spelling. You know me, grammar, spelling, run-on sentence are my specialty. I don't know, what spelling did he do wrong? Oh, I guess the PR. Yeah, Puerto Rico. I think he's got that spelled wrong. Cool, we just woke up really super late this morning from Ken. BDC says topics 4 and 7. Troubleshooting printer troubles. Oh, yes. All right. I would try to having to remember about that. And then reset Windows indexing service on Baby Beast. Yeah, that one is more appealing to me. I am very interested in doing this in this one myself, but I did advertise that viewers select the topics. Oh, look at that. Ken Stout, topics 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. The order does not matter. So officially, I've had each subject requested. Porto is Portuguese, I think, from Dennis. Yeah, Porto, I think it's Puerto Rico, isn't it? And Tony D, is that one of those letter things that means something, you know, like the colon and 2 dots or semicolon or whatever? Okay. So, you know what? Why don't now nobody has come in Zoom, so I will just go ahead and proceed. Did I start the right Zoom session? I'm wondering now if I started the wrong Zoom session. Nope, that's the right Zoom session. All right. I'll go on to Baby Beast. Let's see. Do I have the capture device connected? No, I don't. Yes, I do. Why didn't it come up? Let's do this. And then come back here. Ah, yeah, that worked. Oh, that's so weird. All right, you're seeing Baby Beast now. Okay, so and then I can even turn on. Oh, picture is not working. Let's see, why is that? Oh, that looks like a simple fix. Change the order of things displayed on screen. Now, so the way I worded this was reset Windows indexing service on Baby Beast, and Baby Beast is Windows 11. It was Windows 10 when I first put that in there. I'm going to press the Windows key and type indexing. Indexing options, control panel. And that gets us here to where it shows indexing complete, 60,022 items complete. There's a modify in advance. It's been a long time since I have reset anybody's indexing service, so I am poking around here to find it. Change selected locations. There's all this stuff of location. Those locations are currently unavailable. Uncheck it to stop find items that used to be there. Well, that's interesting. Oh, you know what? That's interesting. I'll bet the reason for that is that Baby Beast was a restored image from a prior Lenovo mini computer. See, I was doing mini computers before they were cool. And those might be the drives that were at one point in time accessible to that computer. Internet Explorer history, selected locations. C drive doesn't even have a check mark. Microsoft OneNote has a check mark. I'm wondering if I had already turned off indexing on this computer, perhaps. Oh, here's the users folder though. Summary of selected locations. So the users folder, app data is selected. Start menu is selected. I'm not sure, maybe that is the normal way it is. Let's go look at Big Beast. Indexing options and modify. Yeah, here it is. So yeah, the C drive doesn't get it because all it's supposed to be doing is the folders that contain data. Now this check mark here, this location is currently unavailable. Uncheck it. You know what? I probably need some research into that subject. Down here, summary of selected locations. So I'm going to think that these selected locations have to do with that designation. Does this guy know what he's doing? He seems confused. Yeah, see, when I go down here to users, it shows the users folder is selected, even though the C drive doesn't even show a partial selection. Okay, so I was expecting to see one of those little square boxes inside this square indicating that some of the sub items are selected, but we don't get that here in indexing. And that's because Microsoft is so consistent with everything they do. Not. Then here's show all locations. Oh, there's more of those unavailable stuff. Okay, let's get this moving on. Go back to Baby Beast. So that was showing me the locations. That was on the modify button. So now if I go to advanced, here's rebuild, delete and rebuild index. And over here we got file types. So these are the file types that are going to be included in the folders that are selected for indexing. Delete and rebuild the index, program location, program data, Microsoft. So this is the index location. I have looked at that before. I've come across one, maybe two computers that were running sluggish because indexing had a major problem of some sort. And deleting and rebuilding the index was the solution on that computer. Now, this thing about indexing, there's, as I understand, again, I'm not going to claim I've done a lot of research on this because I have not. But as I understand, the, let's see, I want to get over here and make sure I have a chat room visible somewhere on screen. Oh, RAN Israel, CSC, client-side cache. It's where offline network files are cached on the local machine. All right, thank you. Oh yeah, so there's an option. Kerry Holzman's Windows 10 optimizer has an option in it for removing the indexing of file contents. It's my understanding that what that does is it stops the indexing service right down here. Allow files on this drive to have contents indexed in addition to file properties. So when you don't have that check mark, it's still going to be indexing the files. It's going to be indexing the file properties only, not the contents of the files. And the default for Windows 10 and Windows 11 is to have a check mark here so that the contents are indexed. Who cares about that? Well, we care about that when a client calls me and says, help, help, Mr. Wizard. I've lost a file that I was working on or that I haven't worked on in a year. I can't remember what it's called or what folder it's in. Oh my, what can we do? And so I asked them, well, can you think of any words that would be inside that file that might be unique? And oftentimes the response is maybe somebody's name, some word or even combination of words, and then we can do a search for those words and if the contents are being indexed and if the file that contains that is one of those files that were included in that list of file types, then we can find it. And that has been successful for me. Now I'm trying to remember where that was. Yeah, that was on modify and then show all locations. No. See here, I don't even remember it that far. Rebuild. Oh, file types up here. So if you scroll down this list and look for the DOC files, for instance, you'll find that Microsoft Word documents, DOC, DOCM, DOCX, those are all included in the file types that are indexed. So now, on Baby Beast, do I have file contents being indexed? Let's go find out. Right click on the C drive, properties, and then yes, I do have the check mark there for allow files to have their contents. So the indexes are going to be larger on this computer. And let's go look at this program data /Microsoft. I'm doing a Control C after I highlighted that. Hang on. All right. Then after the Control C, I'll do a Windows key R and then Control V to paste. And that'll take me right into that folder. And it said this is the location where indexing is stored. Now, I have in the past dug down in here to actually find the files and see how much space is occupied by it. And there are no actual files here. So I think what it was is the search folder, then data, applications, Windows, ask for permissions. I'm not certain if here's windows.db. That kind of sounds likely. Now, after doing this re-indexing, if we come back in here and see files that have changed their date timestamp, that might confirm it. But again, I have not researched this recently to know that I'm up to speed on it. But this part here, just delete and rebuild index, that's kind of a nothing burger. However, it could take a long time. And I have seen that. Rebuilding the index might take a long time to complete. Some views and search results might be incomplete until rebuilding is finished. And I'll click OK. Oh, I think I just saw some changes over here. Yeah, see, here's some file dates. This folder right here is changing as soon as I started that. So apparently I am at the right location. I am showing you the right screen, yes. And do we get any progress indicator? This says working on it over here. Up here, 0 items indexed. Indexing speed is reduced due to user activity because I'm actually doing stuff on that computer. That is slowing down the indexing. How about if I close the Google Chrome browser? What else is on there that I want to close? I'll close my Log Me and Rescue application. And then the only other things I have open are these Windows Explorer folders. So that is off and running. We want to remember to come back and check on that, maybe periodically. Now this says indexing is paused. So if I stop fussing with the mouse, it says 3,237 items indexed. And indexing is paused. I'll leave that on screen for a little bit while I'm not touching that mouse and see if there are 4,571. There, we can see the indexing number is incrementing now, even though it says indexing is paused. Well, that is because we know that Microsoft is consistent with everything they do. Wrong. Okay, really, Doug? Is that how you're going to read that? Yeah, I guess so. All right, so here we got, oh, what happened there? Puerto in Spanish. Is it kind of a rolled R? Puerto. Doug, don't even try that stuff. Jeff to Greg, Linux has its place. I've used a lot at previous jobs. I was dual booting Linux with Windows 3.1 a long time ago. Well, I agree with that. Linux has its place. The thing that I struggle with and I squirm with, and I'm guessing Greg M is sharing this, internally screaming yet from another, Linux is better. Linux has its place, yes, but saying that it's better, well, for certain use cases, yes. But just to say blanket, it's better, I really squirm with that. Speedy C says, nice one to Ken Stout, the numbering of topics. Ran Israel explained that CSC is client-side cache. It's where offline network files are cached on the local machine. All right, so when the computer is accessing network files from some other location, maybe the indexing comes up with those designations. I wonder if it has anything to do with OneDrive. And I want to say this about the indexing is, I think, again, haven't researched it, when you search for words that would be contained inside a file that you're trying to find, if your OneDrive or your Google Drive or your iCloud Drive, if those files on your computer are stored in the cloud and they're only downloaded when you try to access them, I'm suspecting those won't be indexed. I think you would have to have the option set to keep those files on your computer in order for them to be searchable. LonnDawg, okay, rebuilding the index. I'm making a note of that for the upcoming potential repair. Yeah, now when I have seen that be a problem, now I'm not going to demonstrate that on Baby Beast. I'm switching to Baby Beast right now so you can see how far along it is. 33,341. Still says indexing is paused. Yeah, why? I don't know. The indexing service might be paused. That might be it. Maybe they pause the indexing service, meaning that if you try to go search for something, the index isn't active right now because it's in process of rebuilding. So the indexing service might be paused or inactive. Maybe that's what they mean. I'm trying to redeem you, Microsoft. Okay, so I was going to try to show what I have when I have detected that was a problem. Is when you come into performance and you see something eating up a lot of CPU or a lot of memory or a lot of disk, and you sort them in order of whatever column seems to be the bottleneck, and you find an item near the top, it's called something that implies indexing. I don't know if it exactly says indexing. I guess if I sort these in alphabetical order, and let's, is it a background process or would it be a Windows process? And there's something in here that implies indexing. And then what I found is it was taking up a lot of CPU or memory or disk activity. I don't recall which one it was. I'm just scrolling down here, seeing if I can spot it. Somebody give me the answer to that in chat already. Looking to my left. Bronc 9, we do not collect information from your computer. Yeah, right. Windows, is there something called indexing? I don't remember what it was, this precise wording of it, but it did give me a clear hint that that's what it was. So, and it also was intermittent. There were periods of time when the computer would be really sluggish and then not be sluggish. And it appeared to me that it was when the indexing service was busy doing something. Now, you might be able to see that happen if you have indexing enabled and file contents enabled, and then indexing of file contents. And then you take your entire massive documents folder, some kind of massive folder that you have that has a lot of the files that would be indexed, and you move them to another drive, off to a USB device perhaps, and then disconnect it so they're no longer on your computer. And then give it some time for Windows to edit the index, or maybe even do this delete and rebuild. Then copy everything back, and then watch your task manager and see if you can observe how much space it is taking. All right, here we have indexing is complete over here. So that didn't take too long. I have seen it take hours. There isn't a lot of data on this computer. It has my OneDrive, but my OneDrive I don't think is set up to keep everything on the computer. So it's probably everything that's stored in the cloud until requested. Just going to look for that. Yes, over here. See all these outlines of the cloud? That indicates those are content that are stored in the cloud. They're not physically on this computer now. So I don't think those were included in the indexing. Now, how about we try this again? There's a pause button to pause indexing for 15 minutes. Well, now there's another thing a person could do. If you suspect that indexing is slowing the computer down, just hit that pause button. And that should pause indexing and see if the computer is performing better now. Now, I would have expected to see something about indexing is paused, and I didn't see that. Oh, did I blow away that window where I had that folder? I did blow away that window. All right, let's go back to that folder and see what the file sizes are there. That was in search, data, applications, Windows, click continue. These files here. So here's 186 megabytes for that windows.db, which appears to be the index. Now, if I go back and do indexing again, we should see all that disappear. And then I'm going to bring up Task Manager. I'll bring up Task Manager first and see if we can identify what's going on. Let's do Task Manager in Windows 11. Looks a little different. So I've got it sorted descending order by CPU. Could do descending order by disk, but I'm gonna go with CPU for now. Move things around a little bit, and then advanced and rebuild. We're expecting to see these files change or disappear. The date, the timestamp, most recent timestamp in here is 11/32. So there is rebuild. Hands off the mouse. Microsoft Windows Search is on the top of the list. That's what it is, Microsoft Windows Search. The contents of that folder went blank. And Microsoft Windows Search is no longer at the top of the CPU list. Memory is showing 21%. I'm going to try sorting by the memory column. Windows Input Experience, expand that, see what's going on under there. Yeah, search is part of that. See that it says search is suspended right here. So that's taking up a lot of memory. Well, more memory than other items. It's 282 megabytes. Okay, so Windows Indexing Service. Let's come back to Big Beast and see what it says about Windows Indexing Service. Scroll down to Windows in the second section. Windows Indexing Service is not there. Go down to Windows Processes. Windows Indexing Service. Not seeing it there. Could mean that it's not active right now. Not sure what that means. Or it could mean also, let's see, there's also Windows Input. They could be named differently between Windows 10 and Windows 11. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, so I'm going to move along. In chat, Greg M., Jeff Ryman, the issues as still command line driven to fix and get info. Let's see, oh, that was Linux. Well, there's a variety. The biggest problem for me for Linux is all the different distributions. You want to use Linux? Really? Which one? And a person could be using Linux totally GUI, you know, a desktop that kind of looks like Windows, where you click on icons and have pretty interfaces for everything. LonnDawg says, also, Doug, when I got the call saying the pickup time was going to be delayed, she told me that the computer was acting better again. Yeah, well, that would be the case with an intermittent problem. Holy, what am I getting myself into? This is the often on working and not working syndrome of this computer. Greg M says, Carrie, I'm not sure what that is in reference to. Happened to me sluggish when copying files. After removing indexing, everything is fine. Okay, so she had sluggishness when copying files, yeah. And removing indexing or possibly delete and recreate indexing might clean it up, because I think a computer that experiences a lot of massive file movements over here, over there, all these files, and it has to reindex all that, and then it's got a lot of obsolete indexing that's still in the index database, but they're flagged as no longer relevant, so that makes those indexing database files really, really big. So doing the delete and rebuild could really be a fix rather than having to completely disable indexing. Now, if it's your own computer and you know you never use indexing, you never are trying to search for a file, then leave it off. For my client computers, I don't want to do that because I don't know the workflow habits of every one of my end users. I came across a report, I don't know, it seems like a year ago, that says a lot of the college graduates and high school graduates coming out of school, they have not been trained how to structure their folders in a sensible way so that they can find their files. And they'll just go into Microsoft Word, start typing a document, save it with whatever default name that Microsoft Word selects, which is the first few words of the text in the document, and they'll let it save that way, not paying any attention to what folder it's in, not selecting a folder. And then the way they go to reopen those files is they hit the Windows key and type in some portion of the contents of that file. I don't know how prevalent that is, but this report that came out said it's a pretty epidemic thing that's happening, probably out of particular schools that have instructors that are not, they barely learned enough about computers to be able to teach, and they're not good at teaching that, organizational skills. Carrie's program, I think, disables the ability to search files. Yes, it has that option. That's what I don't know, maybe put in that comment before I mentioned that. Yeah, the Windows 10 optimizer has a checkbox, and it, I think by default, disables the indexing of file contents. It doesn't disable the ability to search for files. Now, I haven't tested that. I haven't researched it, but it when I looked at it, and it just seemed to remove that check mark, or remove it or add it. What is it? If I go back here, and what was that option? The default is to have the check mark. Allow files on this drive to have contents indexed in addition to file properties. The checkbox means you can have the contents in addition to the file properties. Removing this check mark does not stop it from indexing the file properties. Hence, the baby beast still has the indexes, even though that check mark was removed. I believe indexing should be on. That is the way you find your files in a quick manner. It's not the way that it's supposed to work. A quick manner is that not the way it's supposed to work? Greg, use void tools, everything ultra search, a darn faster than with Windows search. Yeah, there's a lot of utilities out there faster than the native Windows stuff. And as I've mentioned before, I don't put I don't put additional utilities on my client's computer. I want them using native Windows because they're much easier to support when they're using native features. LonnDawg, otherwise Windows has to rely on going through the computer rather than referring to a file where the information has been indexed for quick retrieval. I cannot remember the last time I used Windows search. LonnDawg to Greg M. I absolutely know what you're saying. Microsoft search is very goofy, but sometimes I take a shot at it. I never disable things on Windows computers I built for others. Yeah, in fact, more to the point, I enable things on computers. Well, I don't build computers, but I prepare them for my clients. I will turn System Restore on because Microsoft has chosen to disable that by default. I will re-enable registry backups because Microsoft has taken it upon themselves to disable that. What else do I turn on that Microsoft has off? Seems like something else. I don't remember right now, but that's stuff that's on my checklist. Running behind again. Give me about 25 minutes to catch up in DVR mode. Will do, Jim. Let's see, 25 minutes. We're almost there. 4 more minutes and we're there. Jeff to Greg, to some extent, I'm not current on what admin stuff is accessible by GUI. I'm getting ready to play with WSL 2.0, so I may get more to update. How far behind am I? That's 11:22. The most recent comments at 11:41. All right, not too bad. Wow, nobody's hanging out in Zoom today, and that's okay. Don't come in just to make Doug happy. Ken Stout says, I had to step away from a honeydew issue. We do not collect information from a computer. Bill Binder. Hello, Bill Binder. Generally, using GUI for admin access is frowned on because X is a big and tangly mess and not 100% trusted. I'm pretty sure they're talking about the GUI in Linux computers. Good morning's going on. Bill Binder, your name's familiar. Probably from Carrie's show. When I was playing VAX, VMS, HP, yada, 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 I used only command line tools in those days, 1980s and 90s. That was secondary role. I was self-taught, did nothing complicated. SCO Xenix was an operating system that was kind of one step up from Unix, and I think it was before Linux was around. And that was being used in a company that I was working for. And that part of the company, I wasn't involved in that part of the company, was a medical medical software that they sold to doctors' offices and supported. And it ran on SCO Xenix, Xenix, I think it was. And it was very much command line driven. And that's what Linux reminds me a lot of when people are working from the command prompt. And the hardcore Linux users, that's the foundation, as I understand, of Linux. And the graphic GUI stuff looking like Windows came along later. So I heard somebody come into Zoom. I'm going to have to do a configuration here to get that up on screen. And it is Gary Weisenberger. Hello, Gary. I'm still working to bring you up on screen the image that you have for us today anyway. There we go. How are you, Gary?
Doing fine. How about yourself?
I'm good, thank you. I have my brother Stan is in town for the graduation of his, what is it, step-granddaughter? I'm not sure what to call her, graduating from college. And so he's going to come spend the day with me. As a matter of fact, he might be showing up during this show time.
Cool.
Yeah.
When's the graduation?
I think it was last night. Yes, it was last night because he didn't come into our Brothers and Beer Zoom session because he was at the graduation ceremony. Yeah. And she graduated, I think, in a chemical engineering degree.
Where at? Or can you say?
Yeah, Fresno State.
That's cool.
California University at Fresno, something like that. We call it Fresno State around here because it was Fresno State before it was a California University. Yay. Do you have any topics to bring to the table today or just coming in to be part of the show?
Yeah, probably both. I actually got two.
All right.
We have I found this out because we do, I'm not going to go into what we do on security, but two things. One is really great. I loved it. One of our employees, network administrator, not manager, basically put his resume and embellished about half of it of what he said he did, but using what we do internally. He laid the blueprint out to get on our system. I mean, not the passwords, of course, but, So he said the name of the company he works for. He said how our system's set up, said a name of the products we use, name of the hardware we use, boom, boom, boom. Short of the IP and the passwords. Wow. And he also said the company. Which is a little, when we advertise for security, we don't tell you what it is. We kind of go very high level.
Sure.
And he did not have that authority. And we have an NDA for people like that. And basically, it's criminal, not bad employee. It came down. He put it on 2 sites. We actually went to the sites. They took it down.
He published it publicly.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
in other words, if you're looking for an employee that has this information, I want an employee that could do this. You go, huh?
And he was looking for work in a security department.
Yeah, I thought that would work for him. I mean, would you hire him if he said that about his lab? He's still working here, though. Well, he's not now, but he was still working.
Yeah, whether he's still working there or not, if he's publishing information about a company that he even knows about the security, that would be a reason to not hire him.
Bingo.
Oh.
I'm laughing because we're talking stupidity. I mean, I got involved in the top end, but not the bottom. But it's like, no. What made you think that was going to get you a job anyplace else?
What were you thinking? No.
And then
Oh,
we monitor sign-ins. I mean, obviously for work, but people. I mean, we don't mind where you work depending upon your job. Obviously, if it's a production job, I mean,
yeah.
computer. I mean, if you're working on a factory floor, obviously you got to be the next person. But if your job is come back Tuesday with a product, who cares? I mean, you farm something out. Somebody's working on your computer for your client right now. You could work on it there. You can work on it in your home. Who cares? But we monitor who's on our system. If you're West Coast, East Coast, we have a couple of out of country places. Anyway, so we monitor. We had one of our newer tech people tell a person who was dropping connection once she had a good connection at home to stay on 24/7, logged onto the system.
Also not a good idea.
And this was a professional. We worked with the person, but it's like if they drop, just keeping them on.
So,
And
so
we,
now I'm not sure I quite followed the description. She was having a connection problem,
well,
so somebody told her to stay connected, not disconnect, because she was having trouble reconnecting, I guess.
no, actually, what would happen is she was in databases, which is fine. That's her job. She was doing her job, blah blah blah, and it'd lock up trying to do an update. Well, not lock up, but anyway. So instead of being a database problem, which ended up being database on our side, the tech person who had no clue about database, after telling her to reboot her personal router 44,000 times, which wasn't the issue, said, just keep it, oh, it's working now. Don't ever shut off or log off again.
Oh,
And it's like, we have the security aspect at work. I worked insurance before this. Probably, well, we're a different state. I'm a machine, you know that. But you might even have our insurance, quite possibly, a branch of it. So I have security. But if you're not on your computer, I can't get to your computer.
if you're if they're
If
not
you
on, say it again.
if your computer is powered off right now, I
Yeah,
cannot get to the computer.
right.
So if you're working 8 to 5, let's say, if your computer's off between 5 to 8, that's hours I don't have to worry about security.
Right. Absolutely, of course.
But you have no
Yeah,
reason to be on our system.
but now the other thing is for him to take the option of just leave your computer on in order that we don't have this trouble again. Did he have the option of escalating her problem to somebody more skilled than he was?
100%.
Because yeah, that's what he should have done if he's not. But long before what you're describing, when you're describing that, it sounds like he was restarting her router excessive number of times. That there should have been a cutoff much earlier there, where he escalates it to somebody else. He's not making progress.
Exactly. Oh, that was our training issue on ours, a newer person, and it was
Yeah,
no.
it's a training issue.
But between the person that he was working with and his salary, we're talking 4 hours of pay each, and downtime of
Right,
productivity. Also, forget the pay, we lost productivity
right.
on both of those. So we actually, if you think about it, we lost the pay, we lost the work, we lost his work, we lost his pay. So we lost 8 hours of work from each of them.
Yeah,
I could have bought him a new computer if that was the issue, but it was actually in staying up what the person thought was, let's say they were in updating your bill or whatever, and not going to go into what they might have been doing, but they have a database row open at that point. So they thought they could just leave their,
uh,
oh, I'm done. Bye. Leave right where you are.
uh, so
No.
this database row was open, so that leaves has the whole database in a
Yeah.
tied up state.
We are not, most of the time, we're about 18-hour a day, 6 day a week shop.
Yeah,
There's a different, and we do have one in the West Coast, not California, thank gosh. And we go to Georgia. We go to the great state of Lost Wages, which is a city, I realize. But, so we're around the country. But no, training, people, training. Anyway, back to you guys.
all right, good, thank you. I'm going to go back to the chat room here. Those are interesting stories. Thank you for bringing that. Rand Israel search indexer appears to be in Task Manager Details tab. Task Manager Details tab. Okay, well, these are the in these process. When you're looking at these processes, if you right click go to details, it'll take you to the details tab. Anything that's on the detail tab should be represented on the processes tab. Now, if we find Windows indexing, I'll sort this by name. I'm going to sort it in reverse order so we get, well, that's not reverse order. Oh, I see it. Scroll down at the bottom. The scroll doesn't keep me at the top of the list. So Windows indexing service, say on the details tab, I'm looking for UVW. Here's the W's. Don't have that there. Do we have it in indexing? No. Am I being dense from what you said here? Oh, search indexer. Yeah, I'm being dense. Search indexer, SEA. There it is. Search indexer running 19.9.20. So then I'll come back to Baby Beast and we'll try that. Get to the details tab and find search indexer and watch its activity when re-indexing. Search indexer right here showing 23,792 on Baby Beast. On Big Beast that I'm displaying now, 19,920. Okay, well, I shouldn't say 19,000. That's 19.9 megabytes. Let's call it that. And 23.7.8 megabytes on Baby Beast. So now if I go to the advanced button and rebuild and OK, see what happens there. SC search host, search indexer, going down to 4 megabytes and probably going to be climbing. Up here shows 0 items index. I probably have to take my hand off the mouse so it can not be paused. There's 2 other search items below that one. Search protocol host. Search protocol host. I don't see the full names of those. I'm going to make that column wider. I'm going to come up here to the right margin of that details column and double click. That should make that column wide enough to accommodate everything that's in that column. Rather than dragging that column wider, that would be wide enough to handle everything that's in that column. Search indexer, 16 megabytes, 17 megabytes, 18 megabytes, and running. I'm going to leave that on screen for a little bit and get back to chat. It's 11:36. If you have the timestamps turned on in your chat room, then I'm at :36, whatever that hour is in your part of the world. Ken Stout said, been a long while, but here comes a shameless plug due to more of those do lists. And he gives us a link probably to his show live in 6 hours, sure enough. And that came up on my other screen, and here is the thumbnail for that. If I drag this tab right, well, no, I don't. I'm not going to join it up to my other panel because I want to continue with chat. Bill Binder to Jeff, I was finishing a role on nice looking project a couple of decades back, which was Linux based, so put some effort into learning my way around. Didn't get the job, of course, but kind of fun. Oh, I was fishing for a role on a nice looking project. Okay, I didn't get that the first time around. Jeff says, I'd rather look for Mountain Dew than Honeydew. Jeff to Bill, I haven't used Linux regularly since around 2012. Last job with Linux, I was just a user running engineering software, not an admin. LonnDawg says, Doug, those are good things to make sure are turned on. But to your list, I would also add the real shutdown. Oh, it is on my list to disable fast startup. And also on my list for laptop computers, I'll put an icon on the desktop, full shutdown. Because a laptop computer, I may allow it to retain the fast startup. You know me, I want to show things. I need to show things. Let's see, what's a good way to get to that? I think power space ampersand is the way I usually get to that. Additional power settings. Choose what the power buttons do. And right in here, you would have the fast startup. I already have it disabled, so it's not showing on this list. These items are grayed out. You can't make changes, but you have to click on this link up here to make changes to this area down here. So I'll remove the enable fast startup, I think it's called. On a laptop computer, I might leave the enable fast startup, but then I will put an icon on their desktop called full shutdown. And that icon is simply a shortcut that does this command, shutdown, shutdown, /s/t/3. And what that does, the forward slash is for shutdown. It's the shutdown command, and you actually want it to shut down. There are other things that you could do with the shutdown command other than shutdown. And then the /t is for time, and the /3 is for 3 seconds. So that it's going to give you a 3-second countdown, gives you a chance to cancel it if you didn't really want to do that. Of course, it could be a number other than 3 if you wanted to. And that is also on my list of default things to change. Thanks for adding that, LonnDawg. Live look-in at Ken Stout, Wintermute. Live look-in at Ken Stout Live. Kyle Porter, CBS. That's coming up on another screen. Oh, what is this? I don't think he liked that one. Ken is a golfer. Ken is a golfer extraordinaire, teaching people on his channel how to play better golf. Right. LonnDawg says, well, hello, Gary. I hope you're watching the YouTube chat. Wow, if he kind of laid out the structure, that is not a smart move on his part, because smart people will review that and learn a lot about how to infiltrate. Yes. Well, that would should freak out the security department, watching closely to see if there's an attack coming. Finally, on my PC from Nova, LOL, I told myself I'm not turning off my PC again for the fear that the problem will show up again. It says, my computer is always on, only turn off on Mondays when going to clients the whole day, and electricity is unreliable. Now, IDA is not as significant of a target as is Gary's company or companies similar to that. Any company that has a security department. I'm not going to like the idea of not only having the remote user's computer on, but having the connection to the office live, because that's what I understood what was going on, is that the connection to the office was live. Start using body cams. LonnDawg to Gary, wow, explaining your real life stories brings up a lot of things that we need to be constantly aware of. That is super, super value, Gary. Thank you for bringing those kinds of stories to us. Look for searchindexer.exe. One thing that kind of occurred to me was ongoing debate I have with people who leave their computer running all the time. When we discuss this issue, we're doing it from a different context about extending the life of your computer or something like that. But given what you just repeated about leaving your computer on, you're also exposing possible probing into the computer, and it gets more of a security risk when your computer is on if it is linked to other devices, other computers, external or internal to the network. Anyways, I think you know what I'm getting at. I am not a fan of leaving a computer running. That is my own personal, semi-professional opinion. There are other people who will throw their credentials, card into the playing field and try to trump me with their knowledge. But again, it really comes down to my personal opinion versus someone else's. Take a breath, Doug. Okay, Doug, I have got to go pick up the computer. Just got a call. I will hook up my cell phone and listen to the rest of the podcast with my cool Bluetooth earbuds. For those who don't know, LonnDawg can do that length of chat room because he is using voice to text in the chat room. Some idea. One of the things Carrie Holzman has commonly said, and I have said, and I do hold to this, is that leaving your computer on 24/7 seems to avoid troubles. And whether that's valid or not, the way that both he and I come up with that is that oftentimes a problem is discovered when somebody shuts down their computer and then turns it back on, or even in a restart. But restart doesn't seem as risky as shut down and then turn it back on. It just seems that when you turn it back on, sometimes that's when a problem shows up, becomes apparent. Does that mean the problem didn't exist until it was shut down? I don't know. And that seems a little fishy to me, because let's suppose a computer has a problem, and that problem is such that it will only be discovered when the computer is cold booted. So if you never turn the computer off, you do a restart for Windows updates, that's not turning the computer off. If you never fully shut it down and you never discover the problem, does that mean the problem's not there? No. Is it a useful thing if we never encounter the problem and have to fix it? Well, yes. Could there be more severe consequences if we don't discover the problem and deal with it early? Maybe. So, I could argue either side of it. Really only leave my PC on when I'm doing big downloads or big renders. Nova, that's okay. It's a normal operation. Just do not leave it on when you are technically not using it. In my opinion, you are actually putting wear and tear on the computer, and expose yourself to intruders poking into your router and then into your machine. I have got to go. Thank you. Now, home users, anything other than large companies that have security departments, are you really an attractive enough target for the people who have the skills to get in and maneuver around? I think people who aren't such a big target might be useful resources to beginning hackers who are cutting their teeth. It's a criminal offense to access somebody's computer without authorization. But if they access your computer to learn their hacking skills and they never do any harm, they're probably never going to be discovered. So are they using your computer to practice and learn hacking skills even though you never discover it or never realize it or never suffer consequences from it? Or could you potentially suffer consequences from it and not realize that they were able to put a false charge on your credit card because they did get information from your computer? Possible. I do leave my computers on all the time during the winter, but in summer, which we're currently in, I go to standby mode at night because they create too much heat in this room. This room can be 15 degrees hotter than the rest of the house. In the winter, I make that happen. I leave both big beasts and baby beasts on. I close the door, and this room warms up, and it means I use less heat in the house because during the day I'm in here, so I don't care about heating the rest of the house. Randy Israel says, my 2 cents. If the computer has something to do, keep it on, otherwise turn it off. I don't know if anyone will want to do anything from my PC. Big thing. If a criminal is going to do something criminal, they should be going for a more significant target. And the targets they like is ransomware. They infiltrate computers of companies where they think they can get a ransom payment. And because that ransom payment is the money transaction, the financial transaction is a choice, a decision of the victim to pay the money. That transaction there isn't the crime. The crime, now again, I'm not an attorney, I haven't researched this, but it's my understanding. The crime is accessing somebody's computer without authorization. That's the crime. The harm that's done is if they take the data that they get from that computer and they publish it, that is financial damages. But if they don't publish it, if they just threaten to publish it and then get a ransom payment, the ransom part, demanding a ransom, is probably a crime, but paying the ransom is not a transaction that the victim can reverse, such as a bank fraud or credit card fraud. You can reverse that. But if you willingly send a payment to the ransom criminals, you can't call your bank and say that was fraudulent and ask them to reverse it. Again, amateur, that's my understanding. LonnDawg, hey Doug, I turned on my cell phone and went to YouTube, and I think it's fantastic when YouTube has my current content running on my phone. It allows me to continue easily. Yes, I use an option. I'll go to if I'm watching a video, let me come over here to something like, well, any tab. I'll right click on the tab up here and I can go to send to your devices. And I can send that to Baby Beast, or I can send it to my iPhone. And it will show up as a prompt in the browser on that other device. And that way I can very easily continue where I left off. But you don't even have to do that because for YouTube, because YouTube will keep track of where you are at as long as you're signed into the same account. Dang, my overlay isn't working. GE Force overlay he's referring to. Randy Israel, you just perfectly described the difference between avoiding a problem and solving a problem. Thank you, Ran. Selden Ball says, my understanding is that professional hacking services intentionally try to break into large numbers of consumer computers in order to use them for criminal services. Yeah, let's take that a little bit further. Hang on. Professional hacking services intentionally try to break into large numbers of consumer computers in order to use them for criminal services. On the dark web, there are places that a criminally minded person, hacker, can go to, and where they can get an initial infiltration into, let's suppose that they've made an initial infiltration into some company's computer. They don't haven't elevated privileges, haven't got very far with it, but they can sell that level of access to somebody else on the dark web who will purchase that level of access, and they have the skills to take that further, to take that infiltration further, and to elevate privileges, to insert malware, to create other user accounts. But they don't intend to actually perform the end game crime. They will take that level of access and put it up for sale on the dark web to somebody else who is maybe in the business of ransomware, and they will purchase the, say, elevated access or admin access to a particular company site, and then they will actually perform the ransomware. Or maybe they craft a ransomware campaign that they're sending out phishing emails. Suppose this is somebody else I'm talking about now. They're in the business of sending out phishing emails massively from different addresses and trying to trick people with different techniques in order to get that end user to click on a link inside of webmail, put in their username and password for some site they think they're logging into. Now that criminal has captured those account credentials. They put those up for sale on the dark web to somebody else who's going to purchase those credentials and do something more with them. So when there's an initial infiltration of data from, like, well, there was that two of them from LogMeIn, it can take quite a while before criminal harm starts actually happening to people. So when you see a news bulletin come out that XYZ company that you have an account on has been hacked and data has been exfiltrated, you don't need to put your code 3 sirens on and drop everything else and go change all your passwords right now. Not that you shouldn't. It's a good idea if you can do it, but don't skip your grandfather's funeral to do that. Do it soon, but you probably have days, maybe weeks, before something else is going to go on, because somebody's got to sift through that massive amount of data and pick and choose what they're going to try to take to the next level. It takes a while for those kind of data exfiltrations to actually get implemented. Distributed denial of service. Let's see. My understanding of professional hacking services intentionally try to break into a large number of companies in order to use them for criminal services, such as distributed denial of service. Shoot, I might start doing that. Or as automated attempts to log into other computers. Greg, well, I can tell that I get reports from around the world, people attempting to log in to WordPress sites I maintain. Hang on. Those could be from compromised personal computers. Certainly, they could be. They could be from computers that are using VPNs, computers that are owned by the criminals. They could be computers that they are using as a botnet, where they can infect computers around the world. And those computers, when they see that they are on overnight, there's nobody actively using it, the computer could be used as part of a botnet to send out emails and do these kinds of activities. Does that serve any purpose for you to shut your computer down at night so they're not using your computer as part of the botnet? Well, only in the sense that you're preventing them from using your computer as a resource. You're probably cutting into their profit margin by 0.000000000. You get the idea. 0.1 out there, or 0.1 out there somewhere. So you're not really taking them down. If it serves your purposes to leave your computer on, I wouldn't worry about the remote possibility that it has been recruited as part of a botnet. And I say remote possibility because they only need a very, very small percentage of the computers in the world to have massive botnets. I'm late at the garden centers with my wife, from Nick Wojcik. Nova says, wait, what? That was so out of pocket. LMAO. Not sure what that might have been. Jim, general public overreaction. Let's go see what that. Oh, I'm caught up with chat. How about that? So I can move on to that topic that I was wanting to talk about. What is this? Oh, I'm going to guess. Oh, this is very, very short. I'm not going to do the audio. Something about we are going to die. Talking about the overreaction. Now, I want to get to this thing that somebody put into chat the beginning of the show. Let's see, which one of these? Over here. I missed it. Here. Irresponsible clickbait article. And go scroll up to the top of the chat. That was from Robert. Now, I don't know his motivation for putting that in. Let's go to that link. But I'm calling this a very irresponsible, clickbait, sensational article. The title, anyway. Windows 11 suffers a weird bug that messes with SATA SSDs and hard drives. This gives the impression that this is a Windows 11 problem. And some people will just read the title and move along and use that as reinforcement for what a bad operating system Windows 11 is. However, contained within this article, and now maybe the author didn't, a lot of times the author doesn't define the title, but here, internal SATA drives are wrongly detected as removable media. Microsoft has confirmed that Windows 11 users are also experiencing an odd bug with SATA drives that has already been witnessed plaguing Windows 10 and indeed Windows 8.1 and Windows 7. This is not something new. It is not unique to Windows 11. It is not any reason to additionally bash Windows 11. This reporter, I'm very unhappy with this article. Let me give you some more about this. NeoWin reports that Microsoft let us know this problem affects Windows 11 via a support document that discusses the glitch and advises users what can be done about it. Now, this NeoWin article, I'll bring that up on another page, is a more responsible and reasonable title. Microsoft Windows 11 is also haunted by this SATA BIOS bug, just like Windows 7, 8, 8.1, and 10. So their title, I consider that to be far more acceptable and responsible. This author, however, NeoWin reports, let's see, I already read that one. The bug causes, now he's calling it a bug. The bug causes an internal SATA drive. This can affect both hard drives and SSDs that are installed inside your PC via SATA connection to be detected as removable media in the Windows taskbar, as opposed to a permanently attached drive, which of course it very much is permanently attached. Microsoft explains whether or not a device is considered removable is determined by your system's BIOS, not by Windows, by your system's BIOS, and how it marks various SATA ports on your motherboard. The inbox driver directly inspects SATA ports and considers devices connected to those ports marked external as removable devices. Not all storage drivers do this, which can be a potential cause for corruption or data loss. Now, at this point, the author is quoting others. Analysis, a fix is available. Fortunately, the good news here is that many modern systems won't be affected by the bug, as most SSDs these days aren't SATA. And hard drives are a piece of tech that's on the way out and very much doing a vanishing act. Still, that's not to say there aren't plenty of PCs out there with SATA drive in them, even if only an old hard drive recruited into the mix for media storage duties, let's say. Now, I have never come across this circumstance. Yeah, I've worked with all those operating systems. The good news is that Microsoft provides the details of a fix in the support document. As Microsoft advises, the first thing to do is check for a BIOS update for your motherboard. Sure, because it's a BIOS problem, not a Windows problem. If you haven't got the latest version, update it and keep your fingers crossed that this might solve the issue. If it doesn't, or you're already on the newest BIOS, don't flirt with installing any beta BIOS. By the way, it's just not worth the risk. Then Microsoft outlines instructions for manually dealing with the problem here. That's a link to Microsoft's article on it. We will get to that. Note that you will have to enter a lengthy command which pretty much looks like gobbledygook. Really? You're writing a technical article and you're referring to this lengthy command as gobbledygook. So make sure you get this right. It's a touch fiddly and involves tinkering with the registry. So a mistyped mistake or a correctly typed mistake could be bad news. Just be very careful you type in exactly what Microsoft says in the final step for Windows 8 or later, which obviously includes Windows 11 users. Well, we'll get to that gobbledygook command. Now, this other article from NeoWin, more responsible, but basically says the same thing. It's like that first one kind of just ripped off a lot of this, but this has more detail. On newly updated support document regarding the issue. So this article is quoting Microsoft's article, which is what, over here. Microsoft has provided a way to fix the issue. There's the command prompt and device management.msc. So they're going to a command prompt to get into the device manager. Well, you could just right click on the Windows button and go device manager. You don't have to go through the command prompt to get there. Under disk drives, identify the SATA device you would like, and you don't need administrator privilege because you're not doing anything here. If you don't do the command prompt with administrator privileges, you'll just have to click on the that box that asks if you want to open as administrator, whatever its wording is. Under disk drives, identify the SATA device that you would like the inbox driver to consider internal and open properties for this device by right-clicking and selecting properties. So all you're trying to do here is find out the bus number and target ID. Then type the following command in the previously opened command prompt. Now here's where you're going to need the command prompt, or you could go into the registry and just add the registry key. But here's this gobbledygook command, which looks like a totally normal. Anybody who's accustomed to working with the registry, if you're going to do registry entries from the DOS prompt, this is what it's going to look like. You're going to type out this whole massive thing. If you open the registry and go to the registry keys, you just click on those and create the registry key. Treat as internal port /T reg multi_SZ. This is what they're calling gobbledygook. Totally normal kind of a command for a registry addition. And then the Microsoft article is showing the same, is basically that same stuff, just directly from Microsoft. Now, something that is totally infuriating and frustrating, Microsoft and neither of these other articles gave any example of this actually occurring. What brand and model computer did it occur on? What year was it? There was absolutely no hint of what computers are actually encountering this problem. And I suspect that it is probably some off-brand manufacturer, very rare computer, not used a lot. I don't know, because they didn't tell us. Erg. But it makes a sensational article. Somebody sees an article titled, like, where is that screen? Okay. Somebody sees this article titled, Windows 11 suffers from a weird bug that messes with SATA SSDs and hard drives. It was published 10 hours ago.
Hey, Doug?
Yes, Gary.
I have a feeling they're not going to fix it in Windows 7. Probably not Windows 8. Probably not Windows 8.1. Maybe not 10. Probably not 11, but definitely not 7, 8, or 9, you know.
How about this? It's beyond Microsoft's capability to fix it because it's a BIOS problem.
Actually, the SATA standard is it's a removable hot swappable drive. Remember, MFMs were not hot swappable.
Okay,
so,
sure.
So in theory, you know,
Somebody created a BIOS that provided for a computer that, in fact, the computers that are having this problem might be computers that have perhaps a cassette in the front panel of a tower computer where you can hot swap a SATA drive.
That used to be a thing in the early 2000s. Do you remember those? Some of the Dells had them, or
Yeah,
not
yeah.
Dells, maybe Compaq.
Well, I did a hot swap on a drive this morning at a client's office. It's not a SATA drive, but it's in a server,
Yeah,
a RAID 1 mirrored drive. I routinely swap out a drive and put another one in so that I always have a full mirror drive that's essentially serves as an image backup for that computer.
and did you notice none of the server operating systems were mentioned?
True.
That's not an issue. Can I clarify one thing real quick about work? The computers that our employees have, for every employee that has a remote computer, that is not their computer, and it is not to be used for a non-company business. So go ahead.
One of my brothers has exactly that situation. He works from home, and they provided him with a computer in his home, and he's not allowed to do anything else on that computer. And it is monitored. They are able to monitor when he is actually actively working on it. And yeah, it's connected to his home internet, but he's not allowed to use that computer for anything other than work.
Now, we have debated internally, management, should we pay for your internet? Right now, we do not, but you can drive to work if you want. That is perfectly up to you.
Right.
You have a house there. So is your internet bill worth 20 days driving back to work and, back and forth? Would you rather eat lunch at home or go to McDonald's every day? I mean, that's up to you.
Right.
So it's the trade-off. And we supply you an external monitor. Everybody has two monitors, the monitor, laptop, and an external monitor. If you want a docking station, keyboard, mouse, that's up to you. I mean, we supply it.
Yeah.
So everybody once in a while when I say something, they go, well, no, it's not your computer.
Right.
Think of it as a specific truck that can only carry our tool. You're not going to McDonald's with that truck. It's too big. So this is not, So, and the last thing is you said about, I heard you, I was walking by the computer, actually wasn't on, about, or not actively participating, about we do power off, but we have maintenance for 4 years, and we replace it 4 years, and I've done that for 20 years. So, yeah, if you find a problem on boot up, you have a hot swap computer in that office, and you'll have a new one in the morning.
Right.
And the thing about our company, this is not telling stories out of school. All of our apps are web apps. Now you can't get to them. You cannot get to them. I'm not going to go through anything, but you can't get to them. But they're not. We don't log in. We don't do TeamView, log me in, AnyDesk, name all the collaboration type things. I mean, you actually are using Edge, but you're going through all kinds of things to get there. And then the software itself has authentications in it. I mean, you do not send a letter at our company without going through a document management system, that I can tell you. So, because what if you say, we'll refund you $3 million. I don't think you can say that. That's not your position, Doug.
Right.
So, yeah, just to let everybody know, because people are like, no. And I agree with what you said if it's a home computer, but if ours go bad, I'd just like to know that there's something that might be wrong and get that out of there. Let somebody else worry about it, another company.
Yeah, certainly.
And then the last real quick thing, we actually had one of our suppliers get hit with, I'm not going to say ransomware, but they did get hit with, like, right now. What happened is it looks like they hit a program a number of times and then it started doing damage. It was actually a Microsoft program that got changed and loaded to their system. They had good backups. They kept going. The company kept manufacturing, sending products, cost them money. But they reloaded the backups, rebuilt everything, and about 3 weeks later, the same thing happened again. So it was a program that was already on their system.
Okay.
And a quick aside for everybody else, on Patch Tuesday and the fourth Tuesday, you understand that Microsoft for Windows 10 and 11 publishes every program they change. and the size and the date of the program and what they fixed.
Yeah.
You can go to their website and it'll actually
Yeah.
say, da 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 .dll and why we changed it. So you just if you don't update, you might get a bad update if it affects you. That's the other reason why we do a restart every day, because we send updates down. We don't send all the updates at once when Microsoft releases them.
Sure.
We do it as tested. So that's why we don't do the fast start. But anyway, last thing on that is you just opened the keys to the kingdom, because if you're a small business and you're not monitored, real well, the hacker down the street goes, eh. But, most of the people breaking in are not always locally, especially the bigger companies. We're usually the people we're getting hit with tons of times are either VPNs or overseas.
Yeah.
I mean, we have very few. I mean, we have kid hackers, they're using, obviously we have a firewall, I'll tell you that much, but they're using your router password, the default router password for TP-Link, $12 router. Trust me, that's not our password.
Yeah.
I mean, I can give you that much. We did not use the default $20 password router, We have stacks. We have over thousands of users. So,
yeah.
But most of our stuff comes from VPN and overseas, which they can't even get past to log on.
Now, you have in your security department, you have people that are watching for unusual activity and infiltrations. Are you able to say anything about how often they actually see some attempt and are fighting against it? And I'm going to be hearing your answer. I got to go over here and turn on the air conditioner. Go ahead.
No problem. Yeah, continuously. And we also have a forward-facing website because we do some to the public. And yeah, we get it continuously.
Yeah. That's I kind of thought that to be the case. Now that implies that is quite likely that my clients are getting hit often with some level of attempt. Now we don't have anything open to the outside in most cases for attackers to come in, but we haven't had any identifiable consequences. And I, as in my role as a computer consultant to them, am not responsible at the same level of monitoring security the way a large company is that has a security department with multiple people monitoring that stuff, and you guys still can fall victim. So
yes.
in my perception of reality, in that we're don't appear to be suffering consequences, it's been just putting two and two together and saying, I just don't think we're that interesting of a target.
Well, when I came from I actually worked at Ford in the 70s and 80s, 77 through 87. But then I went through insurance for 30 years. And we actually, we got to the point where your company might hire 5,000 people for 2 plans. You actually did your own input to the system. You didn't call us and go, enter in Jim for insurance and him and his wife and 2 kids. You did that.
Yeah.
And then the billing came, everything was electronic. Nobody, there was no, type up an invoice no, it didn't happen that way. It was all electronic. So we're like, right now, we're communicating with, I'm not going to go into it, but we're going up and down to suppliers and people we sell to 24/7.
Yeah. So that is an attack vector, because people can sign onto your system and do things. I don't have services like that through my client systems.
Well, most of yes and no. We have a couple of people that do sign on, but most of this is direct to another server type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming through an MRP system to you're sending out of your system that, let's say you need 5,000 parts. I'm going to use a company that my wife's company consulted with, or our home company that we sold a couple of years ago. You made speaker grills for GM products. Okay. GM sent you an order today that we need 300 speaker grills on Monday that had to be pink for a certain GM car. if you remember Mary Kay Cosmetics, well, that was done at 2 in the morning on a Saturday night. Who knows? And then it goes to the supplier. We need pink dye or, whatever, just going into that. So that's continuous. It's running through an MRP, blowing up the bill of materials, blah, 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 blah. And a quick 2-second story for real life. Instead of black one time for speaker grills, they sent pink, valid color.
Okay.
And of course, it was the MRP and the EDI system. You do understand, electronic data interchange. It wasn't the person at General Motors that did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
It was. We finally did get them to admit to it because we sent them, or that company sent them speaker grills that were pink. For like weeks worth of black speaker grills. Just the regular, speaker grills you got in your car today, quite possibly. They still make them. They still use the software. It's over 10 years old. On an IBM AS400, remember those?
Okay, yes. Let me say hello to Jim and see what's up in his world. Hello, Jim.
Oh, nothing up in my world, just the same old tedious task of getting all of this 35mm stuff done.
Yeah. For those who don't know, he's got a scanner in front of him. He's putting negatives into this scanner gadget and digitizing all of his photos.
Yeah. But here's the interesting point about that. It's 40 sets of this stuff.
Well, what's a set? What is a set?
That's the negatives and the hard prints.
Okay.
Because in some cases, the negatives are too badly damaged and the hard print's the only thing that's left. In other cases, I can't find the hard copy, but the negative is there. So basically, I scan the negatives, I scan the hard prints for every set.
And is a set one roll of film?
Yes.
So
most of the rolls are 24 exposure, but the black and white sets, which is the last sets I'm working on now, they're all 36 exposure.
So that means 40 rolls of film.
Correct.
Which actually doesn't sound that massive, frankly.
It doesn't sound that massive, no.
But in going through the work you're doing, yeah.
Yeah, I've been at this since April 5th.
Yeah. If it's entirely conceivable that a person who is more active with a 35mm camera would have a lot more than that.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah. Let's see. So, you caught up in DVR mode before you came in, probably just in time for me to end the show.
But no, I've been caught up for a while. It's just
all right. Well, thanks.
I figured I would at least make some sort of an appearance.
Yeah. Well, you doubled the participation in my Zoom room, so thank you. My brother has arrived. He slipped in back here. And Stan, I don't know if you can hear me, but if you care to come in and make an appearance on camera, I do mention you once in a while on the show. He's off in the kitchen. And if he comes in, we'll let him wave. I don't even know whether he's in a publicly viewable state. Let's get back to chat. What is TPM 2.0 and how to enable? TPM 2.0 is one of you knows what the letters stand for, but it's basically a function built into your motherboard. It could be a chip on your motherboard, but mostly built into it. And you can turn on in the BIOS. And it gives us the capability of enabling, for instance, encryption and secure boot. By itself, I think TPM 2.0 is just a capability. It's not actually doing anything unless you enable a feature that is made available by it.
If memory serves correctly, TPM stands for Trusted Platform Module.
Yeah, that's it. Trusted Platform Module. And so by that virtue, it has to do with, trust and therefore encryption and secure boot. Has to do with that. So you go into your BIOS and look for an option. It's probably under the advanced heading or security heading. It can be different places to go to in BIOS to find it, depending upon your computer manufacturer and the BIOS that you're using. If you don't find an option in there to enable or disable it, that would imply that you don't have it. You might have TPM 1.2.
You'd have to have something fairly old to have 1.2 in it.
Yeah. And which I have a lot of old computers out there that don't have TPM at all, and they're not Windows 11 capable. Windows 11 requires 2.0, doesn't it? Or does?
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Okay.
And for what it's worth, Windows 10 actually made use of TPM 2.0. So turning it off is like taking your deadbolt off the lock.
Right. Right.
I mean, there's other ways to stop Windows 11. Sorry.
Now, however, if you're using Windows without a Windows account password at all, and your user account has admin rights, you've got a massive hole of security on your computer to begin with. So, it's I don't see that it's for most end users, home users, and such. They probably have a whole lot of other vulnerabilities before worrying about TPM.
I mean, we even check sending you, emails to. We had when we did insurance, we would send. I mean, I can tell these out of school now. We'd send a claims rep. Let's say we know you had a heart attack. We would send saying that you died and there's a police investigation. Send us all the information on DougBetts, and you may not be sick. And see if you sent it. It would be sent to us, of course, but try to get a claims rep sending info out. We'd send internally an email to the claims rep that has your information, because you've went to the doctor at our insurance company. You got, through your work, let's say you work at Ralph's. Do they have Ralph's out there? Supermarket?
Yes.
Whatever. I just made something up. And you went to the doctor. Let's say your ex-girlfriend calls our insurance. What we would do though is send something to a claims rep and say we need something on your information, and they better darn well not send it out. I mean, that would be a check. In other words, we're trying to test our people.
Okay.
We still do things like that today. We need a check cut immediately. We need your bank account number to wire in money. So our people are tested daily. Not every person, but maybe your day to day.
Yeah, penetration testing from your own.
Right.
From your own in-house people. Do you refer to that as red team?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Here's a reference to gobbledygook, I guess. Hello from Florida. Hello from Georgia. I quickly read and moved on from that NeoWin article. They tweeted it. Seldom Ball, I don't consider treating disks connected eSATA parts as being removable as a bug at all. That's their purpose, to be removable in high performance data. I don't think that report was talking about eSATA. I think it was talking about normal SATA. eSATA stands for external SATA, doesn't it? You actually have a port on the back of your computer that you connect one of those eSATA cables.
Yeah, that didn't last very long.
No, it didn't. It didn't take off. I went through a box of excess components and cables and such of a client that wanted me to help them decide what to keep, and there were some eSATA cables in there. Jeff, to sell them, I had one laptop with eSATA port quite a while ago. I haven't seen one in a long time. I think the bug is someone connecting internal disks to an eSATA part. I don't think so. The Lenovo computer I'm using has 5 ports on the motherboard, one of which is eSATA. You say BIOS word, BIOS. You're saying I say BIOS word? Bias?
O and P are next to each other.
Say again?
O and P are next to each other.
O and P.
You said BIPS, then BIOS.
I'm not. Nova's saying you say BIOS weird, and then his next line says BIAS, BIAS. You're trying to explain to me what he was trying to say
He
there?
mistyped bits, and he mistyped BIOS. That's all. Never mind.
Oh, all right. I'll move on. Chris says, I seen that bug once a few years ago back on Windows 7 system I built. Problem was a faulty SATA mode. And before you have multiple choice in switching them and reapplying the correct one, fixed it. Okay, now there's only one option available. If I was to work on those type of places, they're going to wonder where some of the parts of the PC are. What? If I was to work on those type of places, they're going to wonder where some parts of the PC is. He implying that he might walk off with some parts? No, say it isn't so. Morton, good afternoon, Doug, and everyone in chat. Morton, I have a work computer at home. I only use it for work. Screen jumped on me. The work computers are monitored. Chris says, I haven't thought of LogMe in a long time. Last time, like 10 years ago, when I last used Hamachi. I did use Hamachi. But I do have several clients using LogMeIn. I love the adapter plug stacking image on the Starfleet Academy hoodie. What was that, Jim?
Gotta pay attention, Doug.
Starfleet
Gotta pay
Academy.
attention.
Hey, I had the idea that he must have been talking about you at least. I remember using 10 adapters on a serial port, like in the old days. Alias Teape here. Hello. Eating and lurking from Morton. Still 1920 pictures to scan. Nova says should be on, but I can't find that in BIP's BIOS. BIPS is a valid word, but I think he just did a spelling correction there. BIOS. It may be, Gary, that's what you were trying to give me the correction about.
That's the one.
Yeah. I wasn't there yet.
Sorry.
That's why I didn't understand it.
No.
I got back into BIOS. I'm going to be back into the B1 initialized. New hacker trick from Jeff. Get ready to pause that. Whoops, missed pausing that. Google did something really stupid. Protect yourself. I'll look at that later. Well, I am going to try to end this session pretty soon. I'm at the end of the chat. Chris says, yeah, tried disabling it on Windows 11 and updating. It will not work unless it is re-enabled. Oh, if you disable TPM on a Windows 11 installation that's already functional, and then you do a Windows update, it won't work unless it's re-enabled. Good to know.
Well, that's entertaining considering I have.
I don't think that's
on a 5th generation laptop, and I'm still getting updates.
Yeah, I don't think that's correct. I mean, I think what you just said is correct. Yeah.
Well, what Jim said is we think is correct. But what if you have it enabled, you get updates, and then you disable it?
You do the same as Jim.
Yeah, the same as me. 5th gen doesn't have the correct TPM in it, and I'm pretty sure it's not enabled on the laptop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll try next Tuesday. Report back.
Yeah, Chris, would be interesting to have some more background on that. Is this something you've actually tried to do, and maybe it's only certain computers, or maybe there's some other circumstances? Because current company says their experience disagrees with that. Unless you have disabled by force this requirement, like for installing on old unsupported hardware. Okay, well, that would answer for some of Jim's experience.
And AMD doesn't call it TPM. They call it something else, don't they, Jim?
Right.
I have one AMD 5800H.
No, actually, believe it or not, you will find if you go into an AMD system, the BIOS, when you're looking for the TPM module, it's actually listed as FTPM. In the Intel systems, it's trusted platform something or other in the BIOS on an Intel system. It's something different.
Yeah.
Well, the one
trusted computing. I'm sorry, it's trusted computing on an Intel system.
Right. On the Dell laptop, it's there's 2 entries in the device manager for trusted platform. If I remember correctly, set of 1.
Yeah, I can't speak to Dell. I don't deal with them often enough.
I use it. Matter of fact, they replaced it the next day. I cracked the screen with the module under the car on the Tesla.
There's Alias Tepe saying that on AMD it's FTPM and Intel PTT. Yeah, and I've seen those differences too. So but that's a good thing worth pointing out for that person who previously asked what TPM is. I didn't mention it then. Well, I'm not going to bother tracking down who that is. I think I'll just take this opportunity and go ahead and shut things down. So, Jim and Gary, just ask you to say goodbye to everybody, and we'll be making our parting comments.
Yeah. Good night, John Boy.
Right. Good night, John Boy. Good night, sayonara, and shalom. And aloha.
All right. All right. Thanks for hanging out. I'm going to shut down the Zoom session here. And then there's an email address. If you'd like to send a question by email, I would respond during a live show, probably on a Windows Daily show, and send you a return email giving you a link to the response. Or you can put a question onto any comment on one of my videos, and you can also ask questions in the chat room. So that'll do it for now. Have a great day. I think I have a redirect set to my Fortnite gameplay this afternoon. Have a great weekend, everybody. Goodbye.